What's up, FTFers? This video is brought to you by Primary Arms. Have you ever made a mistake before? I certainly have. And when I was editing the video, I was like, Jay, you messed up low power variable optics so many times, I'm gonna have to start a drinking game. So when the video comes out right now, I'm going to be watching it live as it comes out, and I'm gonna take a shot every single time that I screw up LPVO. Now, I'm not telling you that you actually have to do it with me, but I thought it might be fun. I'll see you in the comment section. Welcome back. I got my good friend Mike Sterling, who was a guy who liked to play with bombs back in the day.
I still do.
But you are a professional, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show. Today I have an interesting topic for the audience, one that is highly debated. People are really polarized about this.
Yes, it is.
I want to talk about pros and cons of Red Dot Magnifiers, ACOGs, and LPVOs. So I want to get your thoughts on that because we have examples of all of them here. Right, so here's your Red Dot Magnifier. We have an example of a ACOG-like 3x Prism. Okay, and then we have an LPVO. Is this a 1 to 10?
This is the 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
By Primary Arms.
By Primary Arms. All the optics were provided by Primary Arms. Well, except for mine. I bought it, and then they contacted us about, you can try these things out. But,
Thanks, Internet.
yeah, that's the way it works. But anyway, I want to talk about it because, you know, people say red dots are bomb-proof, they're shock-proof, whatever. And then you have the king of the mountain, the ACOG.
Especially the Trigicon ACOG.
Right, exactly. And then you have the LPVO, which they say is the most delicate of the three, right?
Right.
With a red dot, you've got fast target acquisition.
Right.
All right. With the ACOG, I would say it's probably second as far as target acquisition. And then the LPVO, I would say, comes in third.
Right.
Is that true in your summation or whatever?
Yeah, I would agree.
Then we have distance.
And then, yeah, and I always go back to my mantra of it's a tool in the toolbox. Use the tool for what it's for. Just because I can hammer a nail with a crescent wrench doesn't mean it's the right tool for the job. And I am a big believer in magnified optics because, let's face it, none of our eyes are getting better.
No, they're getting worse as I'm getting older, I find.
All of us, every human being, none of us are getting better eyes. So I used to run red dots like EOTechs all the time, and then I realized I'm having a real hard time engaging stuff past 100 yards. Yeah, with that. So then I throw a magnifier on it, and that worked in the environment that I was working in, which was an urban combat environment.
Right.
And that was great. But boy, I'm here to tell you, before that, when I had engagement ranges between 50 and 400 meters all the time, man, the ACOG ran supreme because they were unkillable magnified optics. And I mean, I had mine.
And this is coming from a guy that actually did it. Okay, this is not copy paste off the internet theory. I read this, and so I just went ahead and said this. This is coming from actual experience.
I mean, sitting on your weapon for a year or up to 15 months, 15, 16 months, banging around inside of armored vehicles, and anybody that's ever been inside of an armored vehicle.
Me riding inside of cop cars with my gun like this, like with the screen right here, and then trying to punch out, you know, through the, oh my God.
No, you got an ACOG on an M4 and you're rattling around inside of MRAPs, everything's getting beat up, everything hurts, you're banging into concrete all day, all night. Man, I'm telling you, that is a recipe for losing zero on a magnified optic. And guess what? The Trigicon ACOGs never lost zero. And from what you were talking about with the test that was run on this
TFB TV, if you haven't seen that test on this actual device right here, this optic, not the Trigicon, what they did was they put it in a rain barrel for a week. Then they took it out, they threw it around all over the ground, drop tests, etc. Decided it was dirty, put it back into the rain barrel. Then they put it into a dishwasher with soap, washed it out, of course, because you got to get ready for the next test.
It's got to be clean.
Then they decided, well, let's freeze it in a block of ice for a week. Then they decided, well, how are we going to get it out of the block of the ice? Let's use a 12 gauge shotgun. And guess what? This thing still worked and is still illuminated. If that isn't a testament to that style, a Prism style scope.
It's a thing.
Which, another thing too that we didn't bring up earlier, a lot of people have astigmatism.
Yes.
Right, so you know, maybe the red dot is not the answer for you. Then you would want to go with maybe an LPVO or an ACOG.
Well, and we've seen a couple of other solutions. If you're running just a dot system, go with a different color. Green.
Yeah.
Green really works for people with astigmatisms, or the greenish blue that you get from some
Ironically,
of
yeah,
the
yesterday John
manufacturers.
Wheaton was showing us a blue dot, and I was kind of surprised.
They work really good if you have an astigmatism. They
Yeah.
really, really do. And let's face it, human eyes are not perfect 99% of the time. Now, for me, for the environment that I live in, I currently have an area that my engagement ranges could be significantly longer.
Because you live in Alabama, like here in
Right.
Georgia, and that's a really important topic.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up, because here in Georgia, I mean, as you can see, I mean, an average deer shot here is under 100 for sure.
Oh, yeah.
100% under 100. They're typically somewhere between 30 and 75 yards
Right.
here in Georgia. And so, you know, for me, a red dot is perfect for the environment that I'm in, right? But you're in Alabama, and it opens up a little bit.
Yeah, it opens up a little bit where I'm at. We've got a lot more open hills and the like. So a little bit more farmland in some of those areas. So yeah, I mean, I can have shots open up out to as far as 400 meters.
And it's not like that. In Georgia, you have access to that as well. It's just like the area that I live in personally.
And I mean, I live right there in the Tennessee River Valley. So, I mean, that's the reason that I have that. But also, again, my eyesight is not improving, hence the readers.
Right.
But if you throw also onto that the concept of PID, right? If you're going to get into a lethal engagement, you want positive identification as to who you're going to pull that trigger on. Because let's face it, we all know every single bullet has a potential lawsuit attached to it.
A lawyer attached to the bullet.
Every single solitary
You own it from
one.
the time it goes from here out.
Right. So I want to know exactly who I'm breaking a trigger on before I break that trigger.
Which is why I encourage, and I've done it, and I've said this in past videos, attached to this rifle. I do have a magnifier attached to the rifle, but something else that I have is my Vortex monocular, which is 8 power.
Right.
So if I've got something way far away that I've got to identify, I can do that. Then I can address it with the rifle once I've identified the target as well.
Right.
Now, with an LVPO, you already have it attached to the weapon. With an ACOG, it's kind of
It's in between.
it's in between.
But again, it comes back down to right tool for the job.
Right, which nobody ever talks about. That's the one thing that people need to talk about.
Yeah.
It's right tool for the job.
There's no such thing as a silver bullet.
But I think everybody wants that do it all.
There's no such thing.
Right. And right now, I mean, it's kind of hip or whatever. Everybody's going LVPO right now. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. What I'm saying is that we have plenty of data points from years and years of all three of these optics being used. And what are they typically used for in combat? They have a mission profile.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, there's no, if you look at it,
you determine the mission profile
Yeah.
based on your area, your circumstances, and what you want to use the rifle for.
right, you look at an infantry platoon, and an infantry platoon is going to have not just one type of weapon in the infantry platoon. You're going to have 3 or 4 different types of weapons
Right.
scattered around there, because
Within one group.
each one of them is the right tool for a job.
Right.
And everybody says, oh, you can't use an LVPO in close quarters combat. Well, if I take an LVPO and I throw a prairie dog mount
it.
onto it, and I've got a little red dot mounted up on top, that's my current absolute favorite. This isn't even my rifle, but
We're out here doing some testing today.
right.
That's why
I
we're here.
literally grabbed this out of the safe. I think this is my son's rifle, to tell you the truth. The big point with that is, and I just went through a great course with Barrel and Hatchet with their Minuteman course. I
Definitely check them out.
highly recommend their training between them and Sidewinder Concepts. Adrian did awesome. So both of those guys together, oh man, I mean, it is a mind-blowing weekend. You are drinking from a fire hose the whole time. But the one thing that I definitely was able to see, I'm sitting there with a 16-inch AR tucked up on my shoulder with a Red Dot perched up on top of my LVPO. Well, guess what? At CQB ranges, I'm engaging just as quickly and just as accurately as the guys out there with 11.5 carbines with a Red Dot on them.
Running Mark 18s.
We're having a great time together. But boy, I'll tell you what, day two, when we started getting into distance, once we started perching past 200, 250 meters, those little shorty barrels, guys are going all over the place. Me, I'm getting PID and hitting T-zones at 500 meters with really annoying
Plus, something
regularity.
that really chaps me anyway. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. A 16-inch barrel is still an SBR, technically, because it is a shortened barrel.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, this is not a 20-inch barrel. Plus, I mean, there were guys back in the day in Fallujah kicking down doors with 20-inch rifles.
Yeah,
and,
with regular M16A4s. The Marines are doing it all the
sights.
time.
Right.
It just comes to a question of training.
Training.
Everybody wants to substitute gear for training. And you know what? You train your way around handicaps. You always do that. That's the deal with training, because training trumps gear.
Absolutely. And that's what we've been trying to preach over and over and over again. And I think that basically says it all, for real. Because, I mean, there's a lot of trolls that get in there. You know how the comment section gets. Ma the meatloaf.
Ma the meatloaf!
Yeah.
Like, it drives me nuts,
Yeah.
all right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to tell you, like, hey, all three of these, they have their pros and their cons. You've got to pick the one that works for you in whatever environment you're in, to your level of training. If you don't have it, go get training. If you have had the training, go back and train again.
And yeah, you don't need a $3,000 setup of rifle and optics. You don't. What you need is start with a $700 rifle and optics set, and take the other $2,300 and throw it into training and ammo. Training in particular. And guess what? And
we're going to keep beating this horse too.
Yeah, and we hear it all the time. A bad practitioner always relies exclusively on his gear.
On his gear.
A good practitioner can take bad or improvised gear and still make mission happen, because you're a quality trained practitioner, and that's what you want to do. Because sometimes this stops working in the middle of a battlefield.
It happens.
And congratulations, now you've got a battlefield pickup off of a junker AK that's 70 years old.
That would be me.
And that's what you got to run.
And I would be happy.
You're running what you got.
Yeah, I really wish right now, like I'm wishing upon a star, I wish that the 2A community could come together and just be respectful of each other and understand that people that are not in this community, our mission is to try to help people as much as possible. And you can only do that by being respectful, and what works for you may not work for them.
Absolutely.
Right? So when you get in the comment section, please understand that that is the goal. The goal is to help as many people as we can. So post your experiences. Tell us about your experiences. There's things that you learn. We were talking about the X factor earlier, actually. So I was shooting a competition in US Arms, a 2-gun competition, and I had a Red Dot Magnifier set up for that, and I was running my iron sights in line with the bore, co-witness. And because it was pouring rain, there was all this water all over my optic, and I was seeing 15 dots, and I would have killed to have had some offset irons. Now, prior to that, I would have said, I don't like offset irons at all, and I still don't like them in theory.
Right.
Right, but I saw a need for it at that time, because I would have killed for it at the time.
But at the same time, I see a lot of people out there that they will completely re-equip based upon a 1% possibility factor. And it's like, whoa, hang on. How often does that come around? Can you train your way around that a little bit?
Maybe.
Then that's one less piece of kit you're carrying around.
And that's the point right there. So if you're Honey Smack digging the video, like, share, subscribe, leave me a snide remark in the comment section.
I bet you
Until
won't.
Next time, keep fueling those fires.